did this, and if you were online just now, you'd have only seen my talking head, but now we've got Annie live, which is even better because she's actually the one with the interesting information. Hi, Annie. Thanks so much for being flexible.
My pleasure. We're all learning together here.
We are. Actually, I think this is a great opportunity to try some new things and to figure this out. So Annie's had a really interesting career, which I love it. She was a brand consultant and then has started a career in nutrition. And to me, that's a completely different realm, but it fed a passion for you, did it not?
Absolutely, you know, and from the outside, it does look like it's completely disjointed. But as far as my life was concerned, you know, I did for years, starting in my 30s, started running, and I became an endurance athlete, and I started to coach. And then I discovered this passion, you know, but it's only by being exposed to it that I discovered this. I did not know that there was an inch of me of talent and also such a wonderful, keen interest towards health and wellness and fitness. So I decided one day that, you know what, I love this too much. There's got to be something that I can do. So I decided to go back to school and become a nutritionist to really ramp up my experience as somebody who had been a coach and somebody who was an endurance athlete.
And I mean, I think it's really interesting because your focus on women who are sort of 45 and above. And I mean, I've been through my own sort of nutrition body change journey, but I thought that it was as a result of ending my sports career at 40. But it's through talking to you and learning and getting educated that, you know, the changes are yes, granted less exercise, but there's a lot of impact on women in our age group that is hormonally based, and there's a balance and a management that has to go on there.
Absolutely. You know, it is such an interesting time for women. You know, often people say, why do you focus on women 45 plus? And, you know, coming from the world of marketing, I saw how there was a void. There was a void out there of services that were tailored for women, quite frankly, like me. Mm-hmm. And as I am turning 52 in July, and I saw so much change in myself, in my body, physically, but, you know, also spiritually. There are, you know, so many things that happen in one's life. This is a time of immense change for us, you know, ending of marriages, relationships, new relationships. You know, we see people now also at our age that are taking care of older parents. You know, there's new careers. You know, we're really seeing massive changes. So combine that with the tsunami of the hormonal changes mm-hmm. that women will experience, healthy or not. And then if you had a little bit of health issues, it just gets completely amplified. Mm-hmm. So mm-hmm. it's a big, big need. And I'm so glad to be able to support, you know, women 45 to 65-ish, let's say, you know, who really need that, you know, fine tuning because it is delicate with hormones, et cetera.
Well, and right now when everybody's sort of self-isolating and sort of dealing with a major change, be it hopefully temporary, shorter rather than longer, of being at home and sort of a massive change to their normal routine kind of overnight, it can be a struggle for a lot of people to remain healthy.
Oh, yeah, it really is. Talking to a number of clients, you know, in the last 2 weeks, because we're really in week 2 of self-isolation, mm-hmm. you know, I see how much we are really out of routine, mm-hmm. out of the structure that helped us. Even if you worked from home before, there were a lot of things that were taking place out of the house, mm-hmm. you know, and I've seen the need for really being out there to use this type of platform, you know, to help and support people, because we're really feeling right now the effect of being out of sorts, truly out of sorts. And there's a lot of what I would say reaction to collective anxiety, you know, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. None of us know how long it's going to take.
Yeah, and I'm an inherent social being, so I even though I do work from home and that's common for me, I thrive on getting out and meeting people, going for a coffee, going to the
Mhm.
gym. That's all a part of my routine. And with the gyms being closed and not being able to meet people like face to face for coffee, this has been there's so many different online resources that we can use. And you did share with me one of a myriad of online exercise platforms called Pop Sugar, which I love and it's fun. I've only done a few of them, but it's trying to keep that activity going when it's not scheduled.
There are a lot of challenges to adjusting to this new reality. So one of the things that, this series I've launched this week was actually started with how do you put a little bit of framework to have healthy habits? Because I actually do believe that right now is a really great time to build healthy habits. We're not caught in commuting and a lot of other things that sometimes drain our energy and our time. So, but how does one do that? And one of the first things that, I recommend to people is that you really need to start preparing, set yourself some goals that will actually get you there. And this is something I actually forgot to mention in our previous live. So I'm glad that we're on take two. I recommend it to people to actually pick 3 goals: a physical goal, a mental goal, and an emotional goal, health goals. So it could be, for example, around the mental, I actually set myself a goal that I would do 10 minutes of meditation every morning. And then my emotional goal was actually to have at least once a day do 1 call, FaceTime with a friend to check in on them and make sure that if they need support or if I need support that, I'm connecting. And then the last one was to every day do something physically, right? So making sure that you are setting up some goals to help yourself, because often what people will tell you is, oh, I'm lacking motivation. And the fact is that you're not really lacking motivation. What you're lacking is clarity. You actually have concrete, and that as an athlete, an Olympian, right? Goals must be concrete. Yeah. And that's when you get motivated, not the reverse.
Yeah, there's something that coaches often say about goals, and they need to be SMART. And I'm probably not going to remember the acronym completely, but it's simple, measurable, achievable. I can't remember the R, and timely, right? So that or there's a time
correct
cutoff, and it's important to keep them super simple, because if you're going to say, well, I'm going to do a 2-hour workout a day, and you've got little kids around, or even something else that's just taking your time away, it's not realistic. But to go out and do a half an hour walk around the block, or the Pop Sugar video, there are 10-minute versions of it that I did one, and I was like really feeling it the next day. I was like, holy smokes, I didn't change into workout gear, and I did it, and it was very simple and easy to do. So I liked because you could almost combine 2 of those goals, like the calling a friend could be okay, let's do an online yoga class together, and it can be done over Zoom or whatever.
That's a big strategy for success, Martha. Accountability and support, right?
Yeah.
I usually will let my friends know these days. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go for a run, and I'm letting you know so that you keep me accountable. And they're like, awesome, and you also, when you do that, you're also encouraging others to do the same. So I love that, and nobody gets any of this stuff done alone. We all need, the moral support, especially now more than ever, And you touched on something also very important, like I love to then bring the goals and make them very context oriented. So I'll say, I'm not just going to do 10-minute meditation. When I get up, I'm going to make coffee, and the next thing I'm going to do is my 10-minute meditation.
Right.
So I have a very specific sequence. That routine right now is what we're lacking. So the big strategy to take from this is put structure to your day, just like you would before.
Right.
So I'm going to get up, I'm going to make my coffee, 10-minute meditation, and then I can go on with, the next item of my day.
And would you post, you got a couple of favorite meditation apps. Would you post the links to those apps or the meditation practices in the comments? Because there's a couple, because you shared with me one that I'd never heard of before. I've heard of done Headspace before, but I'd never heard of the one that you had shared with me, which the name escapes me right now, but we'll put it in the comments.
Yes. Yeah, you're referring to Tara Brach.
Tara Brach, yeah.
Yes. And I everything that I'm actually been using these days are free resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really wonderful time. I actually think meditation is something that takes a long time to get used to, because it's so against our nature to slow down and to have quiet and all that. But, the benefits have been scientifically measured. It's clear that it helps us. So, those are great little things that we can all do. But
I think meditation is something I need to add into my routine at this point, because I have a very busy mind, and I've really struggled with meditation. I have not, because as soon as I start to slow down, my mind starts to go and say, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And now I got to slow it down and and add that in, because now's the time to do that, because I haven't been able to do it. The other thing that we were talking about is baking and cooking, and how to manage food strategies and shopping. And I mean, there's a couple of different elements that are impacting healthy eating, and one is supply at the grocery stores, which seems like it's course correcting right now. The panic buy is ending, but the fact that the recommendation is to only go once a week.
Yes, that's right. So I was mentioning before that in the old days, like my mom did groceries once a week, right? And what that entailed for her is writing every meal that we were going to have for dinner, for example, right? And I'm sure that she always made more so that we had leftovers. Always had a bit of the basics, that carried us through, like bread and eggs and yogurt, and we always had those staples. But what it means right now is that we have a really great opportunity to prepare, right? Preparation is the first step for any success, right? Whether it's running your business or being healthy. So be prepared, write up the meals, and I'm a big fan of, if you're going to mess up the kitchen, double the kitchen production. So double up the recipe, chili, freeze some, and I'm a big fan of freezing in little containers so that you can have individual portions, so that's easy to thaw and very accessible. And then you are ready to do a grocery list that will actually fit what you need. And then you're not days later going, oh yeah, that's right. We don't have X exactly, right? Oh, I need yogurt for that. So you're spending a little bit more time up front, but the payback is that you're going to stick to the meals a lot more. And I was sharing that, emotional eating is a big thing right now. On certain times, right? We throw ourselves in the fridge, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I have a friend who said, I think I'm in the fridge every hour of the day, and she's not alone, right? We all have moments like that. If you're preparing your food, if you are feeling, those things that you can control, that's where the focus needs to be, right? And then it will actually calm yourself, and you're going to be able to enjoy beautiful meals, and also feel that, oh my God, look at that. I've got all these beautiful things that are in the freezer. You're really going to feel good about yourself. And also it's, everybody knows this is much easier on the budget as well.
Right. And one of the things that they do say, or that we've talked about, is that if you're working from home, is to get up every hour and move and walk around. And to me, at least when I first started working at home, that was to go to the fridge. And that's not a good thing. So what I've replaced that with is sweet, like a flavored herbal tea, peppermint or rooibos or some other sort of spice tea, or even to get up and go and get water. And that's what I I've started to train myself around to go and actually get that, which is hydrating, and that's an important part of nutrition too. But it's changing your mindset, is that, okay, yeah, I need to get up, but getting up doesn't mean going to the fridge. Getting up means getting some tea or getting water, or even just doing a quick walk around the block, or whatever that happens to be.
Yeah, it's a great point, because being caught a little bit in that loop, that, oh, well, like I'm bored now, I'm going to go eat, it's really great. I do the same as you.
Yeah, look at us with our funky mugs, right?
It adds some cheeriness. And
exactly.
I'm a big believer in all these little things make a big difference. But I even put all my teas on the counter. So going to the kitchen, I'm like, okay, yeah, time to boil some water. It's right there, And James Clear of Atomic Habits wrote this fantastic book. If anybody, by the way, interested in the science of creating habits, that book is like gold. And he talks about setting up your environment to succeed, right? So in the kitchen, you don't want to have a big bag of chips if that's your go-to, like me. You want to set up your environment to support your habits. So now I would say, forego the treats, because there's more temptation than usual, right? And then set up your environment. For example, my running shoes are right by the door. I see them all the time, right? So you want to be supported in your environment for your habits, as opposed to, oh my God, I have no idea where my, my running shoes are. And it was, remove the resistance, as he called it, right? So make it easier for you.
Yeah, and one of the things that we want to talk about is the journey that I've been on. It's been a personal journey to discover a major gut challenge I've been having, which I've been able to link to canola oil. And people look at me and go, is that actually a thing? But you mentioned that you have a whole section on your website that pertains to fats, because fat used to be the evil thing, low fat, no fat, which was replaced with a ton of sugar, which actually didn't help your nutrition. And then these other fats that have been introduced in as, quote, healthy, are actually not really all that healthy for us.
Yeah, I feel really bad as a society for what we've done. And, there's been so much misinformation, and we have misguided people on what we believe are, good things and bad things for us. So 100%, right? We started to talk about fats as being bad for you. So manufacturers did low fat, high sugar. And now we know that inflammation, because at the end of the day, that's what happens when we are eating foods that are bad for us. It creates inflammation, which normally is a good response by our body to fight disease, to fight an injury. But when we eat those things on an ongoing basis, what happens? Chronic inflammation. And with the oils, unfortunately, all these oils that are, man-made, because at the end of the day, that's what they are, the safflower, sunflower, canola oils, they're highly, highly inflammatory. And unfortunately, there are many different kinds of fats. And, short of giving everybody a chemistry course, they're organizing these nice little categories. And that's why I did that guide that is on my website. And at the end, we'll post all that for everybody to because it's a downloadable PDF that I give, because I think it's so important for people to be better educated about this. The other fats are actually excellent for the body. Some of them, for example, omega-3s, that are found, as we all know, in cold fish, and flax, etc., are actually good for brain health. So fats are essentials, absolutely essential, and they're essential for production of hormones. So when we put people on low fat, like if you were an athlete and you got below a certain amount of body fat, which I believe is like around 6% or lower, you stop menstruating, because you need fat in order to produce hormones. Well, that includes your estrogen, your progesterone, and all the other hormones that you need for health, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
that tells you how dangerous it is to actually negate fat. But just to say that canola oil, unfortunately, it's hiding everywhere, and
Yeah.
it's hiding in most consumer packaged good products because it's a cheap oil. It's a cheap oil that is produced here in Canada. It's accessible to the food service industry. Hospitality uses it all the time because it's way cheaper than using olive oil.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So in the guide also, quickly, I'll mention that there's also a great reference for which fat to use depending on hot versus cold.
Yeah.
Because there again,
That was new news to me. Yeah. Yeah.
So super important. But
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing the damage that it can do, and it can also, and this is very important for women because heart attacks, cardiovascular diseases are the number one killer of women.
Mm-hmm.
All this inflammation damages the arteries.
Mm-hmm.
So ongoing, inflammation will cause those arteries to be damaged, and guess what happens?
Heart attack and stroke.
Cardiovascular incidents.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we need to be, as women, very, very aware of this critical issue.
Right. Well, so you are doing a daily online at 11 a.m. health Facebook Live, which we'll also post on how you get to that through your Facebook page.
That's
and
right.
through beep.ca. So thank you so much for coming on and doing take two, because that was, you learn as you go. So it's, but Annie is a wonderful resource. Check out her stuff, and we'll post everything that we've spoken about in the comments below. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.